Hi everyone, my name is Ryan, and in this lesson I'll be showing you how to work with bullets. So to begin, I have an HTML template and I'm linking to a CSS file called bullets.css, and this file is currently empty. So to begin, let's start by going to W3 Schools and having a look at the HTML tag reference. And we have three different HTML tags that we are going to use to create bullets. The first of which is the tag called the UL tag. UL is short for unordered list. It's a block level tag, and inside this tag we have several li tags. Each li tag is an individual bullet inside the list, and li is short for list item. So li is the second HTML tag we're going to be looking at. For the third HTML tag, we're going to use a tag called OL, which is short for an ordered list. An ordered list is a little different to an unordered list in that the bullets are numbered, for example 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C. Other than that, they work exactly the same way as the unordered list. Notice the OL tag and the closing OL tag, and in between those tags we have once again the li tag for the individual list items. So let's go on and start coding our HTML. I'm going to start with an unordered list. Within that unordered list, I'm going to have several items using fruit. So we'll do apples and oranges and grapes. Notice the preview is showing us the individual bulleted items with a little colored in circle as the default shape. It's known as a disk. I can also create a nested list. So within the apples list, for example, we may choose to have subcategories of apples. So we're going to have another unordered list, and in that unordered list we're going to have Granny Smith, and we're going to have Golden Delicious. So notice the different shape for our inner list, and notice that it's also been indented underneath the apples bulleted item. Then I'm going to go and show you how to do the ordered lists. So under ordered list we're going to have some vegetables. So we'll have peas, and we'll have carrots, and we'll have squash. You'll see that with this particular bulleted list, it's numbered, hence the term ordered versus unordered. So now that we have the basic HTML structure in place for our bullets, we can switch on over to do some CSS. So once again, I'm going to go to W3 Schools, but this time around I'm going to go to the CSS reference. Under the CSS reference, we have a subcategory called lists and counters, and here we have the different CSS properties we can use which will affect the look and feel of our bullets. So let's begin by looking at list-style-type, and this allows us to change the shape or the numbering system of our bullets. So it works for both ordered and unordered lists. So let's switch on over to our bullets.css, and let's create a rule for our unordered list to begin with. I'm just going to change the color and the font family. That already made quite a big difference in the look, but let's see if we can change the shape of the bullet. So there are three possible shapes we can use. We'll use the list-style-type property. So list-style-type, and the values we can set it to are disk, which is the default. That's the filled circle. Then we also have circle, which is the circle that's not colored in. And lastly, we have the square. So you've already seen the first two, the colored in circle, which is the disk, and the second one, which is the circle. I'm now going to show you the square. So notice how the shape has changed to a square on all of the individual bulleted items. Then if I wanted to, for example, change the shape of the inner list, I could just define a class. Let's make it a disk. Actually, let's make it a circle. So I'll change the color to green, and I'll change the list-style-type to be a disk. I should maybe call the class disk as well. So let's switch on over to the HTML and apply a class of disk to the inner list. Refresh, and notice how the color has changed and the shape is also changed. Now let's work on the ordered list. So back to our CSS, and then for the ordered list we'll just set the color to be orange, and I'll set the font family also to be Arial. Then the list-style-type, we have different choices now, because remember with the ordered list there's some sort of logical order to the numbering. So we don't use the shape values, we now use the numbering system values. So one example would be Armenian. We have decimal with a leading 0, Georgian, Hebrew, lower alpha, lower Greek, lower Latin, lower Roman, upper alpha, upper Latin, upper Roman, and there are others that you can also try for yourself. So let us demonstrate a couple of these. I'm actually going to change the color to be something we can actually see, like navy. And then the list-style-type defaults to normal numbers, so we'll just set it to lower alpha. That's alphabet characters, A, B, C. We also have upper alpha, uppercase letters. We also have lower dash Roman, which are Roman numerals, as well as upper dash Roman for uppercase Roman numerals. Then there's some other ones which are not as useful, like lower Greek or Hebrew. Those ones I don't think you'll be using. So I'm just going to stick with lower alpha for this one. Then another thing that we can do with bullets, especially with regard to the unordered list, is we can change the shape to be a custom designed shape. So if I switch back to my W3 schools, under lists and counters, there's another property known as list-style-image, and here you can actually set the bullet to be a particular custom designed image. So we use the URL syntax, and then we specify a GIF or a PNG. So I'm going to go and design a little bullet using Pixlr. Pixlr is the free online editor. You can get to it by going to pixlr.com/editor. We'll just create a new image, and then the width and height we're going to set to 16 by 16. You don't have to use 16 by 16. I just chose that size because the default font size in most browsers is 16 pixels. So we've got a very little small area to work with, so I'm going to zoom in here. Let's go to 999%. And then I'm going to just pick a color using the color palette. And then I'm going to pick the brush tool. That's a very large brush. Let's drop that down to something more reasonable. And just draw a couple of designs. You could also use something like Photoshop or GIMP. Any photo editing software should be able to help you create bullets. Now that I've got my nice bullet, I'm going to save it out. Save it as a PNG because that will support the most number of colors. And of course the advantage of PNGs is it also supports transparency. Okay, so let me call this one bullet and save it into my pics folder of my project. Now that that is saved, I'm going to close that and go back to my bullets page. So I think what I'll do is I'll change the green bullets to be my custom shaped bullets. So instead of the list-style-type here, we're going to change that to be list-style-image. This is my class. When you specify an image, we use the URL syntax. And then to get to my picture, I need to go back a directory. So I do that by going .. because I'm currently in my CSS subfolder and I need to get into my pic subfolder. So first I need to go back a folder to the root of my project. Then I need to go into my pics subfolder. And within that subfolder, I'm going to load the bullet.png file. And notice how it has now changed to be my very own custom designed bullet. Now if we go back to the HTML code, the unordered list has got quite a few different purposes, and one of the most commonly used purposes for an unordered list is to create navigation. So if you've ever come across a navigation bar with drop down menus, the unordered list with all the li tags works very well to create a drop down menu. And I would say 99% of all drop down menus are built using unordered lists that are nested together. So each time we have another drop down menu, we just start another unordered list. If we had another drop down menu within that, we would just start another unordered list within a particular list item. So it will be important to get to grips with using the unordered lists with LIs as well as the nested lists, because when it comes to building your menu bars in your navigation, this is most probably what you're going to be using. So that brings us to the end of working with unordered lists and ordered lists in HTML and CSS.